Marine reacts to SCP-4666, the Yule Man, Object Class Keter, and is considered an uncontained SCP by TheVolgun. As always, I'm going to be leaving a link to the original video channel down in the description below, so go ahead and make sure that you check them out. Now, I don't know too much about the Yule Man. He's scary looking, according to the thumbnail. The fact that he's uncontained, I don't know what part of the world he's going to be in. Other than that, let's go ahead and jump right into the video. But before we get into the actual video, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help me out a lot. Hit that notification bell right there. That way you're notified every time I do upload. Sometimes I upload twice a day. Now working on them in the evenings, and then releasing them early the following day. That way, when you all wake up, there's a video waiting for you first thing in the morning. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and see what SCP-4666, or the Yule Man, is all about.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Miller, and the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-4666. Object Class Keter. Special Containment Procedures. Web traffic and law enforcement channels worldwide are to be monitored for evidence of SCP-4666 activity, and particularly for cases of stalking or reports of anomalous phenomena involving families with young children. Should a Weisnacht event be suspected to be in progress, the nearest containment task force is to be dispatched to attempt containment of SCP-4666. Standard PDP-8 humanoid first contact protocols apply. Media coverage of family deaths attributed to SCP-4666 is to be suppressed or falsified to make said deaths appear as non-anomalous home invasion murders. Forensic evidence and SCP-4666-A instances collected by non-Foundation agencies are to be confiscated and witnesses amnesticized. Description: SCP-4666.
Before he gets more into the description, when he mentioned that worldwide, so either this thing, which according to the thumbnail looks like some kind of monster, obviously, but is worldwide, so it's not in one specific location. Like, I mean, I'm assuming it bounces around. I'm still taking notes on SCPs as well, so that way I don't forget certain things. So
66 is currently believed to be a single, exceptionally long-lived humanoid entity of unknown origin. Survivors of Weisnacht events typically describe SCP-4666 as a very tall, between 2 and 2.3 meters, elderly male of European descent with an extremely emaciated appearance. The entity always appears completely naked, even when observed outdoors in the freezing weather. Though the nature and extent of its anomalous properties remain uncertain, SCP-4666 appears capable of instantaneous or near-instantaneous travel to any location north of 40 degrees north latitude, and possibly to any location on Earth. SCP-4666 activity occurs exclusively within a period of 12 consecutive nights every year, from the night of December 21st or 22nd to the night of January 1st or 2nd. This period is known as SCP-4666's active phase. During this phase, in what are termed Weisnacht events, SCP-4666 will appear at dwellings in one or multiple locations north of 40 degrees north latitude. In all known Weisnacht events, these dwellings have shared the following characteristics: isolated rural location, home to a family with at least one child under the age of 8, and situated in an area with snow cover lasting throughout the duration of the event. Weisnacht events consist of the following general progression.
before he gets farther into that, so we know it's one thing. There's no dashes in this case scenario. It seems to be restricted to the 40-degree latitude line. Not really sure why that would be. I mean, obviously, maybe because of snow. But I mean, technically, if you go in the mountains, in certain areas below that, I'm pretty sure there's still snow if you go high enough in the mountains. But in any case, this is giving me like Krampus vibes. I mean, obviously this is, or it could be it. And maybe this is just like an SP version of it. But I also wrote down, and they even said it here, that it goes to rural locations, specifically also with snow. And that it's always with at least there's one child below a certain age, age 8. So the fact that it's going to like a rural place and it's not really, say, going, for example, to cities, obviously this entity is pretty smart, or it's pretty clever, I guess, as far as what it's being capable of. Because even though they said it's skinny, very skinny, It's kind of like 9-6. Then you wouldn't expect the one to be strong, but obviously this guy might also be strong, like 096, just because it's the SCP Foundation. So
Nights 1 to 7. Children will report seeing SCP-4666 in the vicinity of their family's dwelling. The entity will typically be observed watching the dwelling from a distance, such as from across a nearby field or from the edge of a neighboring forest. In some cases, children will report waking up at night to find SCP-4666 watching them sleep through a window. Nights 8 to 11. Family members, including the parents, will report sounds of footsteps coming from the roof or the attic. An extremely unpleasant odor will also frequently be noticed inside the dwelling. No cause for these phenomena will be found. As a result, parents will often begin to suspect their family is being stalked, or even that their dwelling might be haunted. Night 12. Over the course of the night, one of two scenarios will occur. The first, and most common, is that SCP-4666 will kill all members of the family, save for one child under the age of 8, whom it will abduct. SCP-4666 will inflict incapacitating injuries to family members while they are sleeping, then herd them into a single room of the dwelling where it will proceed to kill them in view of each other. The method of killing varies with the event and will typically be preceded by some form of torture, which appears to serve as a ritualistic purpose. See Weisnacht events log below. In the second scenario, which has occurred in roughly 15% of known Weisnacht events, SCP-4666 will not harm the family. Family members will report hearing footsteps inside their dwelling at night, though no signs of forced entry will be found. In the morning, children will discover presents at the foot of their beds. These will consist of toys crudely crafted from the remains of human children. See SCP-4666-A instances log below. The criteria, if any, by which SCP-4666 determines the outcome of a Weisnacht event are unknown.
is this kind of a reverse? I mean, if this is supposed to be like the personification of of Krampus in the SCP universe, is it possible that he would, in instances, I mean, you would assume most kids during this time, right? You've got Christmas coming on, that they're going to be like very good to be on that nice list and whatnot, stay off the naughty list. Is this the type of scenario where the Yule man is actually rewarding those, I guess, that would be considered naughty, or like people who aren't necessarily, because I mean, since you would assume that the majority would be very nice and very on the good behavior during that time, and I'm assuming that those would probably be the people that he kills. Like maybe this is having like a reverse Santa effect. And also I saw that it said that when he killed them while they were sleeping, right? Now, if an SCP was strong enough, they could have killed them, especially being in a rural area, however they so liked. But it seems like the fact that he goes at them when they're asleep could mean that he's just not that he doesn't have a super strength, kind of like what I was thinking, like with 096. And I wonder what happens to the child that he actually abducts. I mean, obviously it wouldn't be good. I mean, as far as him even existing, could be Christmas related. I mean, obviously a lot of this seems Christmas related just because of the time period that it's actually active.
Document 4666-5-30091. Weisnacht events log. Location: Unknown village, Croatia, 1498. Description of Weisnacht event: unconfirmed. An entire family was killed with the exception of one of the children, age unknown, who was abducted. Though specific details about the event are not available in recovered documents, it was noted that the killings presented strong paganistic elements and that the family members had been made to suffer greatly prior to death. The archbishop who oversaw the investigation wrote that he believed the family had been killed as part of a demonic ritual. Location: unknown village, Rupert's Land, present-day Ontario, Canada, 1689. Description of Weisnacht event: unconfirmed. An entire family was killed with the exception of two of the children, one of whom was abducted, and one of whom, female age unknown, escaped during the killings and was able to reach a nearby village. She told authorities that a naked man had broken into her family's dwelling during the night and proceeded to torture them. Exact method not specified in recovered documents. Upon investigation, the bodies of the family members were found inside their dwelling, hanging upside down from the ceiling. All had been exsanguinated. Location: Eichstätt, Germany, 1913. Description of Weihnacht event: an entire family was killed with the exception of the youngest child, male, age 3, who was abducted. The bodies of the parents and 5 other children were found inside a stable adjoining their dwelling. They had been restrained by having knives, pitchforks, and other sharp implements forced through the palms of their hands and into the walls of the stable before having their tongues removed, leading to hemorrhaging and death. Blood from the family members had then been used to paint elaborate patterns of unknown meaning on the hides of the mule, goat, and 2 cows present in the stable. The animals themselves were not harmed. Neighbors told the authorities that in the week preceding the killings, the father of the family had mentioned finding tracks in the snow around the family's dwelling, which appeared to have been made by bare human feet. Location: Plios, Soviet Union, 1956. Description of Weihnacht event: an entire family was killed with the exception of the youngest child, male age 4, who was abducted. The bodies of the parents and 1 other child were found in the living room of their house. They had been restrained, and their feet had been held over flames in the fireplace for an extended period of time, calcining the tissues of the feet and exposing the bones. They had then their heads crushed with an unknown heavy implement. Hundreds of bite marks believed to have been inflicted post-mortem were found on each of the bodies. Branches cut from a fir tree outside the house had also been placed over the bodies to unknown purpose. Location: Skudeneshavn, Norway, 1971. Description of Weihnacht event: an entire family was killed with the exception of the second youngest child, female age 5, who was abducted. The bodies of the parents and 2 other children were found in the basement of their house. Each had at least 1 limb pulled off by brute force before being stabbed precisely 39 times with an unknown sharp implement, possibly a piece of bone from one of the removed limbs, resulting in massive blood loss and death. The family members had been eviscerated and their small and large intestines removed and cut into 30 to 50 centimeter long pieces. These had been arranged in radiating lines around the bodies. Feces from the intestines had been used to trace symbols of unknown meaning on the walls of the basement.
Oh my god. Dude, I'm trying to picture all this in my mind, and it's not a good idea to do that. I was writing down some of the dates to try to see if I could find a correlation with whenever it appears. Like maybe it's once every couple years within that time frame of the 21st to the January 2nd or 1st. And obviously it was kind of like makes the match, but obviously he can go to different areas and places. Now, I don't know if he's doing this via teleportation. I didn't hear anything about that. I didn't hear maybe he has like a little pocket dimension, and then he can travel through there. The one that did escape, though, as far as her making it to the village, if this guy, I guess if you can call him that, did have abnormal physical capabilities, I'm pretty sure he would have been able to stop her, or unless she escaped while he was busy torturing the family. So I'm assuming this is why he goes to rural areas, not a whole lot of competition as far as people being able to stop him, and then he attacks them, possibly taking out the parents first while they're sleeping. And obviously, if there's a kid, you see this face, you're probably going to be rendered like in a shock to the point that you're not even going to be able to move. So then it just becomes easy for him to be able to tie them up, etc., etc. He's got to be like, unless he takes them to torture them like in a one-on-one session, or if he's having them do something. Otherwise, why would he abduct them? I mean, it could be kind of like what they said here, that he was using trace symbols in the walls of the basement. I don't know if he has a purpose, if he just enjoys this, but no idea.
Location: Egilstaðir, Iceland, 1996. Description of Weihnacht event: an entire family was killed with the exception of the youngest child, female age 4, who was abducted. The bodies of the parents and 7 other children were found inside their house. All had large pieces of skin removed from their backs, necks, and groins prior to death. removed skin was found to have been partially consumed. They had been killed by decapitation with a bucksaw that had belonged to the family. Following death, the family members' headless bodies had been carried into their respective rooms and placed on their beds. Each of the removed heads had also been placed upright on a step of the staircase leading from the first to the second floor, with the parents' heads on the top 2 steps and the children's heads on the lower steps, in decreasing order of age. Document 4666-530985, SCP-4666-A, Instances Log. Location: Nurms, Finland, 1811. Description of SCP-4666-A Instance: a small wooden drum with 2 wooden drumsticks of uneven length. Drum skin consists of a 390 centimeter cubed piece of skin belonging to a human child stretched with a thread made from human tendons. Location: Gallagher, Wales, 1857. Description of SCP-4666-A Instance: a small knife, 15 centimeters in length, the blade was 6 centimeters in length, sculpted from a single piece of bone belonging to a human child. Symbols of unknown meaning had been carved into the handle. Location: Makat, Kazakhstan, 1903. Description of SCP-4666-A Instance: a flute made from the hollowed-out femur of a human child. Holes have been bored at uneven intervals along its length. The femur appears to have been dyed in human blood. Location: Bangor, Michigan, 1960. Description of SCP-4666-A Instance: a wooden box containing 13 miniature human-like figurines, each 4 to 6 centimeters in height, made from the phalangeal bones of human children, tied together with strips of human tendon. The figurines had been decorated with human hair and small pieces of torn clothing. DNA testing revealed that the remains belonged to 18 separate children. Location: Cape Broyle, Canada, 1976. Description of SCP-4666-A Instance: a ball 23 centimeters in diameter, made from 19 layers of human skin wrapped tightly around the desiccated head of an unidentified human child, male, age 2 or 3. Layers of skin are held in place with pine resin. Location: Bard, Netherlands, 2006. Description of SCP-4666-A Instance: a hairbrush. The handle is made out of wood and poorly carved. In place of bristles, 43 deciduous human teeth have been set at irregular intervals into the handle. DNA testing revealed that each tooth belongs to a different child. Only 2 of the teeth could be matched to known abduction victims of SCP-4666. Teeth vary in age from a few days to over 400 years. Discovery: SCP-4666's existence and ongoing activity were first detected in 1974 through the Foundation's newly implemented Anomalous Signature Recognition Program, when several highly similar home invasion incidents resulting in family deaths were found to have occurred throughout the Northern Hemisphere during the night of January 1st or 2nd.
Is he killable? Does he have some form of regeneration? I haven't heard anything that he can do besides being able to go to different areas. So if he's killable, I mean, maybe that's one way. So, I mean, if you can contain this guy, if you have the chance, I think in this case, securing and containing and protecting wouldn't be really the main goal. It would be just to take him out, because he seems to be able to jump anywhere he wants to go. And it's obviously, at this point, I think he's just doing this because he loves it. I don't think there's really a main purpose. I thought it may have been just because of the symbols he was creating. And he was also giving me a Jeepers Creepers kind of vibe, where he's actually making tools out of the body parts from the people he's killing. And he's also inscribing like little things on them. So I think it may have gotten some inspiration from there, or as far as the person who wrote it.
Extensive research into law enforcement archives worldwide eventually uncovered evidence of probable Weisnacht events for nearly every preceding year, going back to the late 18th century, average of 3.1 known events per year. Numerous historical documents were also found which appear to describe SCP-4666 activity occurring prior to this period, in some cases as early as the 2nd century AD in Europe and Russia, and as early as the 1st century BC in Scandinavia. Fingerprints belonging to the same humanoid entity have been discovered at the locations of all Foundation investigated Weisnacht events. These have been matched to a partial fingerprint found preserved in dried blood on a recovered SCP-4666-A instance dating from 1873. The fingerprints present characteristics not known to occur in human beings. See image. Human-like white hairs were also recovered from the locations of several Weisnacht events, though no DNA, human or otherwise, could be extracted from them. Addendum 4666-01. On January 2, 2018, several SCP-4666-A instances were discovered at a family's residence in Hoonah, Alaska, following the conclusion of Weisnacht event number 060198. Among these instances was SCP-4666-A-0960, which consisted of a crude life-size doll made from the emaciated body of a female child to which the following modifications had been made. A dress made from various pieces of dirty, discolored clothing had been sewn around the body, and in several places into the body's skin. The mouth had been sewn shut with thread made from human tendons, and the lips painted red with a solution consisting primarily of human blood. The fingernails of another child had been glued over the body's fingernails with pine resin. These had been painted red with the same human blood-based solution. 3 of the body's fingers were missing. The entire scalp had been removed from the head, and the scalp of another child with long blonde hair sewn onto the head in its place. The hair had been tied into 2 braids. Both eyes had been removed, and 2 large round pebbles on which eyes had been crudely painted placed into the empty orbits. Upon examination by the family, the child from whom the doll had been made was found to be still alive, albeit unconscious. Authorities were notified, and the child was airlifted to Bartlett Regional Hospital in Juneau, Alaska, where she survived for 18 hours. 2 Foundation agents were dispatched and were able to interview the subject. See interview log below. Following the subject's death, her body was confiscated by the agents and all witnesses amnesticized as per standard procedure. DNA testing revealed that the subject had been Ekaterina Morozova, age 7, a known abduction victim of SCP-4666 taken from her family's residence in Dubovka, Russia on January 2, 2016. Autopsy of the subject's body showed she had been severely malnourished during the 2 years following her abduction, which had resulted in considerable stunting. Weight was only 15 kilograms, height was only 90 centimeters. A number of scars and burns were present on her skin, and she had suffered 2 bone fractures, left tibia and left ulna, that had not been reset and had healed improperly. Hands were heavily calloused. Cause of death was attributed to multiple organ failure resulting from severe, sustained malnourishment.
So when they said 2 years, he's obviously keeping them somewhere. And for whatever purpose, still don't know. But 2 years. And then I've also been wondering if he does multiple families in that one time frame, or does he do one family and stick with them throughout that whole time? So he's only getting like one family a year. I mean, if this is going to go the Krampus type route, which I have heard about, or at least Krampus, like the story and the lore behind that, I would assume he's kidnapping the children to make the toys or make the things that they are finding that are associated with the Yule Man. Like all the stuff that's made out of human parts is probably what the kids are making or being forced to make. So that's a thought.
Document 4666-5-358-14. Interview log. Audio log 4666-06201. Date January 2nd, 2018. Time 11:27 to 11:49 p.m. Alaskan Standard Time. Location Bartlett Regional Hospital, Juneau, Alaska. Interviewers Agent Anthony Kowalczyk, Agent Susan Muse attending. Subject Ekaterina Morozova, SCP-4666-A-0960, female, age 7. Notes: the subject regained consciousness for a period of roughly 30 minutes prior to expiring, during which she was interviewed. Hospital staff had previously removed the thread that had been sewn into her lips, allowing her to speak. Despite having been administered a morphine drip, the subject was largely coherent throughout the interview. The subject did not understand English and initially only spoke a language that was unfamiliar to Agents Kowalczyk and Muse. However, after several minutes, the subject began addressing the agents in Russian, which he spoke poorly. Agent Kowalczyk, who spoke rudimentary Russian, was able to conduct the interview without the need for an interpreter. This interview has been translated by my on-site AI, Acid. Playing log now.
Hello, I am Anthony. What's your name?
Are you going to take me back to him?
No, I promise. I'm just here to talk to you.
I don't want to go back.
You don't have to. You're safe now, Mishka. Can you tell me what happened to you? Do you remember the night he came to your house?
I remember. He hurt Mama and Papa, and Katya, and Juliana for a long time, and they were bleeding. After they stopped screaming, he put me in his bag.
His bag?
He had a big bag. Other children went in bag too. I think we go to other houses. I hear people screaming outside the bag, all during the night. Each house, he put another child in the bag. Then after the night, he take us away.
Where did he take you?
Underground. Nothing. Deep.
Underground? You mean in a basement?
Deep. Everything earth and mud and ice. Bones everywhere. Everything cold. I can't sleep because it's too cold.
Were there lots of children there with you?
Lots of children. Lots of tunnels. Lots of holes. But I can't see all. I can't see the other island. Too dark. My hole is with Renee, Hecla, Sasha, and Paul. We make toys. Together.
The toys?
If you don't make the toys, you don't eat. Don't stop making toys. Don't fall asleep or he hurt you.
He hurts you. How?
He hit you. He hit you. Or he burn you. Or he bite off your fingers. Or he cook you on the fire in his room and eat you. He eat Philip and Sally.
What about you? How did this happen to you? Did he do this?
Renee, Hecla, and Sasha, and Paul do this. They have to.
Why?
I get sick. When you can't make the toys, you become the toys.
Okay, that. Oh god, that was pretty fucking disturbing. So when she talked about being placed in a bag, obviously Krampus vibes again. Now this bag obviously has to be some kind of little dimension or reality type scenario because there's. She said there's multiple children. He's going to other houses and he's collecting more kids. So he's going to multiple houses within the time period. As far as if she knows that they were underground, it was cold and dark, and they had to make toys. There's got to be a specific location somewhere in the world. Obviously, no idea where and how they would find this. And so he's obviously, I mean, you can't even call him a cannibal because he's not even technically human. I don't even know how he would have gotten the name the Yule Man, but as far as her saying, when you can't make the toys, you become the toys. Is that saying that she's a toy right now? Yeah, because when it said Renee and Hekla and Sasha and Paul do this, they have to. So obviously they were in a situation where when she was sick, they had to make her into a toy. This is one of those very dark SCPs, and obviously I don't know how people can think of this and be able to write this. I mean, it's an insane amount of creativity. I'll give them that.
Wow. Let's just get rid of this guy's face off of the monitor, and let's all go and have a really good holiday and just take our minds off this thing, okay? Thank you for listening, if indeed you still are, and you were all dismissed. Goodbye.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about that for a minute. You can't even contain this guy. You have to kill him. I understand secure, contain, protect, but not with this one. And I don't even know how they would be able to track him down, because it doesn't seem, if he's doing this every single year, and there's probably just so many instances where they don't even know every single little instance that happens. They only have certain documentation just because they were able to find these killings, and then we're able to match that with 46666 as ML, for example. So I feel like it was somewhat right in terms of maybe not about the him giving those weird toys to kids who were technically considered naughty, and that he was only taking the good kids. Not necessarily that aspect, but the fact that he's taking them to make toys. Obviously, these weird, messed up ones made out of human body parts. But I never found a very good reason. Like, why does he want them to make these toys? Why does he want to be able to give these types of toys to that 15% that he doesn't kill? Is he acting on his own accord? Does he enjoy this? Is he some kind of sick sadist? Is it just because this is just what he does and that's what it is? That's how the document is supposed to be written. I mean, because obviously if he's kidnapping children and he's bringing them down to his little lair wherever he's at, it's very obvious that at least if they're kids, that he could physically dominate them and like ensure that they don't escape, or how she was saying that he would beat them, bite their fingers off, set them on fire, or even eat them. And that's probably why when they talked about the parents, as far as killing the family, people who would stand somewhat of a better chance to be able to physically try to maybe handle them, he kills them in the sleep. And they say that he's emaciated to the point where it's like he's supposed to be like really skinny. It doesn't seem like he has very much physical capabilities. And also, I'm not really sure about why he has to stay above that 40-degree latitude. Obviously, it could deal, because there was that one instance of paganistic rituals, although I didn't write too much of that part down. But in any case, that's pretty much it as far as this video goes. Don't forget to like, subscribe. It really does help me a lot. Hit that dislike button if you didn't like it. It helps me improve the channel. If you're curious to see what's coming up next, to the description down below. You're going to see a list of about 5 videos. Top to bottom is going to be how I view them. But until then, I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.